So good evening, everyone. Look, I'm truly honored and I'm truly privileged to be this year's dinner chair. And I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's a very special night since it's Deborah's last gala as our leader at Catalyst. And we're here to celebrate Deborah, to celebrate our honorees, to celebrate the impact that Catalyst has already had, and to support the important and very critical work that lies ahead. So as dinner chair, I'd like to offer 3 objectives to at least partially achieve tonight. First, to have the women here tonight feel inspired, to be even more self-empowered to pursue their dreams. To have the men here tonight, including me, be inspired to strive for greater self-awareness around our interactions and behaviors, our actions and our inactions that impede women, and to commit to proactively support women in pursuing those dreams. And third, for the women, again in the room, to be inspired to strive for self-awareness around their actions and inactions that impede other women at work, and to commit to proactively supporting other women and telling us men when we're dropping the ball. So I want to thank you, Christine, for that very generous introduction. When I asked Christine to join us at the Carnival Corporation, as she said, she didn't fit any of the normal criteria one would think of to lead our namesake brand, a multi-billion-dollar organization with more than 40,000 of our 120,000 employees. She is extraordinary, as you could just tell from the few words she spoke in so many ways, and was already an accomplished professional. But she hadn't run any cruise line. She hadn't even run a business of any significant size, or a complex business of any size at all. In fact, she doesn't have a college degree, but neither does Mickey Arison, our multi-billionaire chairman who with his dad literally built the modern cruise industry and in doing so, built his legacy and his fortune. It's not about credentials, it's about character. It's not about checking boxes, it's about demonstrated leadership and ability to get things done. And it's about being given an opportunity. Christine has done an outstanding job delivering for our shareholders and other stakeholders, and her team's results are all the affirmation that I need. Despite the hiring decision, which now seems brilliant, and despite the very kind words Christine shared, I am not particularly enlightened, but I do have some experiences. I know what it's like to be the only one at the table, to ever have others assume you don't belong, assume that you're not competent for the task, to talk over you, or simply ignore you completely, to not be included or invited, or to be blatantly uninvited, and even to feel your personal safety threatened just because you're present by those that are supposed to be protecting you. Yes, I do have experiences, but one experience I can never have is that of being a woman. I can never know what it's really like to be a woman. Now, I've been fortunate to be around some strong women. My mother was a titan. She was born dirt poor in the segregated South with just an 8th grade education. She raised my brother, my 3 sisters, and me. I'm the baby, gotta love me. With my dad's support, working as many as 3 jobs at a time, he was no slouch. Together, they also nurtured 27 foster kids. My parents didn't have much of an education, they never had much money, but they made certain we all went to college. My 3 sisters are strong women. They sacrificed plenty for me. They sacrificed a lot for me. I'm their baby brother. And all 3 are successful in their own right. The youngest of the 3 was born with gnarled fingers on her right hand and was told by the principal of her elementary school that she would never amount to anything with those hands. But encouraged by my mom, she persevered and won a National Science Teacher of the Year recognition some years ago, including a presentation at the White House. I have 2 strong daughters. The older one withstood pressure from me and her mom to attend our alma mater, saying, "I'd rather be a legend than a legacy." And when she married, she insisted her husband change his last name too. Now, being far more enlightened than me, he did. Okay? My younger daughter did attend our alma mater, saying, "I'd rather be a legend and a legacy." And in a moment of grave crisis, when cornered at gunpoint, she remembered the training she got as a freshman at Carleton College, successfully fending off a would-be rapist using the technique of gradually elevating non-confrontational voice commands. Now, I didn't raise my daughters to be strong. I really didn't. Their mother did. My wife of 44 years is definitely a strong woman. She's not perfect, which she says I'm much too quick to point out. But she's put up with a far more imperfect partner these many years, successfully navigating her own careers while supporting me and mine and raising my daughters and my adopted special needs son. Now, I have 4 strong granddaughters, and the world better get ready because they are dynamos and they will suffer no nonsense. Now, here's 2 of them, the little blonde and the smallest one, third to her right. They organized their own, independently organized their own rights march against inequality. And they recruited my 2 grandsons who are bookending the photo and some neighborhood kids, okay? Now, I am not particularly enlightened, but I do have some experiences. In a capitalistic society like ours, for communities to thrive, the businesses in that community must thrive. In order for businesses to thrive over time, they need to innovate. And at its core, innovation is diversity of thinking. A diverse group aligned on a common goal with a work process that fosters true inclusion, equal respect, equal voice, and equal opportunity for each team member will outperform a homogeneous group every time. Now, I've been a key part of transforming 3 industries, not just companies, but industries during my career, all 3 by purposefully engineering diverse teams. Engineering diverse teams that work well together is a business imperative for sustained business success and ultimately for social prosperity. Now, in anticipation of this dinner, I've been doing a lot of listening. That's always been a key critical behavior for me, but with all the discussions around Me Too, I felt the need to do more. So I've reached out to listen to my female brand presidents, to my women board members, to women in my office, to women everywhere, just to listen. Now, many of the women were discouraged, and they felt we should be further along than this, and I agree. This is all of our problems, and it's up to all of us to make things right. And they told me that while we can all recognize and condemn sexual harassment at its basis level, how do we change the other, more pervasive aspect of this issue? The ongoing, persistent misogyny against women in our culture, the above-the-neck harassment, the ingrained, entrenched, and intractable bias that results in women falling back or stepping back, each step up the corporate ladder. So how is it that almost 50% of my graduating class, those bright young women who had it all together, chose not to pursue those dreams, or got lost, or discouraged, or were shut out somewhere along the way, so that today, 32 years later, barely 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women? My world was not the same. It was not the same world for 50% of my fellow human beings. And within that, there's a subset of that 50% that's an even more entrenched bias. Now, as a black man, I fought prejudice and bias my entire life, but black and other minority women face daily challenges I can't even imagine. You know, as the bell rings, thank you. As the bell rings on companies' successes on Wall Street, it rings hollow, and it won't ring for those companies for very long if it tolls an emotional tax on the women who helped to get them there. Now, I'm sorry I haven't done more, and I'm sorry collectively we haven't done more, but I will do better. We need to all do better. So how do we move forward? Now, I believe we all need to live in a heightened state of awareness. We need to shine a light into the darkness of the stock rooms and open our eyes in the meeting rooms and the boardrooms. Throw open the locked doors and the entry doors, but also the barroom doors after work and the kitchen doors where women help with homework, feed their family, and answer emails late into the night. And let's uncloak and stop tolerating the anonymity and disrespect of email and the internet, the glazed over looks and the unheard voices around the table. Now, I've spent my life trying to be a voice for diversity, but diversity really only works when all voices are heard equally. Now, the late American poet Maya Angelou said, "Baby, you only know how to do what you know how to do, and when you know better, you do better." So I call on the women and the men in this room and outside this room to be examples of what to do, how to behave, and how to do better. Now, it's up to us as men to be aware, to be engaged, and to reprogram our ears if necessary to be attuned to the female voice, to not stay quiet when we see other men disengaged until a man's voice starts talking again, and to not tolerate or ignore hurtful or inappropriate behaviors and think that's good enough. Saying nothing is saying it's okay. You set the standard by the things you ignore. And I ask the women in the room to work with us, to stand shoulder to shoulder with us so we can all do better together. We need to live and breathe a state of being where no one is judged for their appearance or harassed because of their position, but celebrated for their character and for results achieved, and encouraged for their effort. But we can only make this happen if we work together. But I also believe in redemption. I think back to my own experience as a young black man in the 70s in corporate America, and how a white manager changed from a bad nightmare for me to my greatest champion. I believe in change. I believe in second chances. And I believe that, as Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you can do better. And finally, while I recognize this is a cultural problem as a whole, as a CEO, I want to address the business world. So we need to own the broader definition of diversity that goes beyond the color of one's skin or sexual identity or orientation to include diversity of ideas, of styles of behavior, of knowledge, of experience. Inclusion also means welcoming people who may not think like us or act like us, who may be difficult or argumentative at times, who may challenge our patience, but also challenge our status quo. Now, we need a state of being that values the ability to build and inspire for the next generation, not just the next quarter. And we can no longer have just one narrow path to success. We need to broaden that path and make sure it's open to all of us, recognizing we don't all walk at the same pace, we don't all wear the same shoes, and we need to welcome those who may have stepped off that path for a while. I know better. I will do better. Let's all do better together. Thank you. Thank you.